Added like an IBM field service notice. It said to all field service personnel, uh, be
Yep.
advised, IBM is offering two types of mice now. Uh, mice will have balls that can be removed using the twist off method and also with the pop off method. Uh, be very careful not to. Oh, make sure each technician should make sure they have at least a pair of balls for maximum satisfaction. Uh, make sure that you do not handle the balls uh, too extensively to avoid discharge static. There was more to it, but it was a page worth of shit there, and I don't remember all of it. I've got it filed somewhere, but
Yeah.
that was one of the
Well,
oldest internet jokes I'd seen. It got printed off at the computer center at UConn in 1985 or some shit.
probably be a lot funnier today if they use Copilot, because that's
Yeah.
because that's Microsoft's way to go.
So
They
did,
do a lot of good dad jokes.
I've been impressed by the jokes that OpenAI can generate. They're
did
actually
you see
not half bad.
did you see today's dad joke?
Uh-uh.
No, no. You
Where
want
do
to tell
people
it?
go to do math homework at New Year's Eve? Times
I don't
Square.
know.
Times
Where?
Squared.
Yeah.
Oh,
Times
Yeah.
Square. Ah, that's good. That is a good dad joke. Very good dad joke. Oh, by the way, Happy New Year, everybody. Those of you who are about to celebrate it, I really appreciate you tuning in and watching it and being here. Um, I've decided that I would make one New Year's resolution this year, but I've already broken it, and that was not to make any resolutions.
Yeah.
a self-fulfilling life failure. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Mobius circle.
Now I can put that joke away till next year.
That's a joke best told only once a year.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes, probably not even best told once a year.
Yeah.
I
I
was
got to
like saying
find
like
some
around this.
kids.
I was like around this time, like say, well, I'll see you next year. And then 2 days later, say, man, I haven't seen you since last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be a good year. I have a feeling that for us, it's going to be a very good year, 2026. I think that it's going to be busy, 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 busy for everybody in the concert business. I just believe that from the bottom of my heart.
Same thesis. Experiential entertainment is the only entertainment that matters.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I can't wait to see what the revolutionary new AI stuff is going to come this way. I mean, it's just inundating my life right now in regard, I got Perplexity, I've got Google, Gemini, I've got Copilot, I've got Claude. I mean, it's what's that other, there's one other big one, ChatGPT. ChatGPT is amazing when it comes to translating. And it's you tell ChatGPT, you say it like this: Hi, I'm about to have a conversation with someone who speaks Thai and I speak English. Or you could even be more specific. The woman is going to be speaking Thai and the man is going to be speaking English. Be the translator. And it is flawless. And not only that, it does it with personality. Whereas the Google Translate, which everybody's been using for years, doesn't do it with personality. It's spotless, spotlessly amazing.
I've been impressed with Gemini's video mode, where you can just turn on if you put it on your phone, you can just turn on video mode and show it a thing and have it tell you about it. From identifying plants to tell us the breed of this dog and the this and the that, and there's a problem with this computer of this model. What do you need to do to fix it, and this sort of thing. Um, I haven't done Windows support in like 25 years, and so over the last 3 days, I've had to repair three HP laptops, vintage of like a between 2016 and 2018, and I managed to jam Windows 11 on them and actually make it work. But half of the diagnostics were done with Gemini. It's amazing.
Well, Windows is still a thing? Unbelievable. I didn't know that.
It's
Corporate.
it's a thing to the extent that people are stupid enough to buy PCs still.
Yeah. Well, I
But
think
in
they're
the
much
corporate
cheaper.
world, though, you know, you got when you have, you know, it's still there. It's still entrenched there.
Oh, sure, yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I mean,
because
Mac's got in there for a while, in the early 2000s, and they're quite entrenched in software development and IT side because they're all essentially NetBSD based, which is a
right.
Unix variant. So they make it's much easier to work on Unix-like systems with a Unix-like system to start with.
hmm
Um,
I love BSD.
Mm.
I use that rather than Linux.
Yeah, well, I mean,
It's far more
I don't
secure
know if
too.
it's still. I don't know if that's still true. I mean, that was what I was always told, 25 years ago, um, when Linux was still getting itself sorted out. I don't know if that's still the case. I don't have any evidence one way or the other, but yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
was
well, my mind must be in the gutter because when you said BSD, I went sexual. I said, "Oh my God, no! Don't go down
that's
that path."
ST. That's slightly different.
Yeah, that's
The other one now, if you shop software for business software, most of the ones you got to use are all based on Microsoft.
yeah. It's because of
Yeah, well,
Microsoft Server.
it's less and less the case because most of the Microsoft cloud infrastructure is Linux based, and Windows now ships with a a Linux environment that can be installed and run, which is basically a virtualization, but you know,
Yeah.
it can be
So
run it can be run side by side with Windows. And this is the thing. Satya Nadella did a good job of fixing Steve Ballmer's fuck up in that regard. Ballmer's position was always that open source was a cancer on the
Yeah.
software community, and Satya Nadella said, "Nope, no. We are going to embrace open source, and we're going to embrace Linux, and now you can run any Unix-ish operating system side by side with Windows, just like you can run Windows side by side with Mac OS with parallels." But yeah, the Linux, what is it? The Linux subsystem for Windows version 2 is really very impressive.
I'm hearing that Linux you could run on a Mac now too, as well.
Oh, sure. Well,
Yeah,
that's
sure.
been around for a long time, to varying degrees. Apple actually tried to squash that for a while. Or no, not Apple. Microsoft tried to squash that for a while,
Yeah.
trying to prevent you from running it on processors that were not identifiable as PC native processors. Um, and of course, Apple was able to get around that for a while by having Intel processors. I'm not sure. I haven't tried running Windows on this new one, which is an ARM based.
It works.
It does. Cool.
Yeah.
so are my software Great Plains is end of life in about 2 years. So is that about the time that we'll have an AI based all AI based business software?
Remind me, I've heard of Great Plains. I don't know what
Great
that.
Plains was bought by Microsoft, and it's an ERP package. It's a
Okay. Yeah.
accounting
I
ERP
knew it
package.
was going to be say I was thinking people
You
saw
can always
it.
go to SAP B1.
I
Well,
was
there are a billion cloud-based ERP solutions out
Yeah.
there. I was very disappointed to find that there was one called Easy ERP or Simple
Yeah.
ERP or something
There's
that
a
was
ton
bought,
like that.
that's been
Yeah.
bought several times over and is now Odoo, and you'll see ads for these guys, and it's all Python based ERP solutions, and they of course give you the first app is free, but the rest of them are just are paid.
Big bucks.
but all you're really dealing with all these ERP systems are plug-in solutions to that plug into an architecture that's basically just a database and an API. I
Colin, are
think
you
there's
still doing programming? Are you still doing a lot of
Oh yeah,
programming?
sure. So my recent stuff has been related to MCP server management. So MCP servers, they're model context protocol. It's like an ATM machine, right? Automatic teller machine. MCP is model context protocol. MCP protocol. So it's the mechanism by which you attach and expose services to an LLM, to an AI solution. And so I'm building a framework to manage those and manage authentication and a paywall. So if you build an MCP server, you can immediately monetize it using my framework.
No, that's cool. Well,
So that's
Christopher is who's in the room. He held up a sign. He'd be back in 10 minutes. He
Yeah.
also is very big time in programming and the computer sciences in that respect as
ah,
well.
ah.
So we have a large base of interesting folks in this room.
But
Yeah.
I
Ca-
would not look to replace Great Plains with one solution. I mean, it's going to be end of life when next year, year when
2 years, year and a half to 2 years. Yeah.
year and a half.
Yep.
In the next, poke around a little bit. Get serious about it. In June of 2026. That's when you need to start being concerned. And I would look for piecemeal solutions. Because you don't need a single unified platform. You don't need to be locked into one thing. You need to look for a platform for tools that that manage their data in open ways, in ways
Well,
that allow you to import and export them, so you can migrate to the next best solution when it comes along.
the thing we're looking for is like we have, I can't remember the name of the software, but it's tied in with integration. So it has all the lines leaked with all the manufacturers where everything comes up. We're just designing in it. And
Product and inventory management.
It's system design.
system design, build, and all that stuff.
Software design.
No,
Yep. No.
no. A concert system. Audio
Concert
system.
systems, audio
Yes.
systems.
Audio
I
video
keep
integration.
I keep forgetting what Zoom I'm on here.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that is a relatively specialized thing. But did you have to build out your plugin for White Plains to make it do this, or was this
Great.
It won't plug into Great Plains. It's running standalone. We have to import it back into it. So we're looking for the next one, import that. We also have Flex with our tracking software, equipment management, and in touring stuff, and get that to where it will hit the new software too, and not have to.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, I
Flex
mean,
is your hardware tracking. That, in other words, that tracks all of where your gear is and the rentals,
so
and
you
it
got
also
QR
puts
codes
out
or UPC
yeah,
codes or something, and
and it puts out your
track of
billing
this
too
stuff.
as well, right? It creates your
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Well,
so
we
the
have to
question
put
is,
it into.
what is it that you need out of an ERP system that you can't put just build as a back end to your 3 existing systems that do the things that you need them to do right now?
But he doesn't want to build it. He just wants to buy something so that he can get his gear out.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I always start from the position that it's always better to build unless you can find something that does exactly what you need it to do. And then the next question is, what's going to be the cost to build it versus the cost to have someone else build it for you? Because
Usually,
you might be able to find something to buy, but the chances are with a specialized scenario like that, I can't imagine. It's got to be a very small market for that sort of thing.
Well, Ken, what I did for a company, I did for about 4 years. I worked with a company, and it was a similar situation, but a completely different market. It was a company that did food and commissary services for prisons. So think of it as just like every prison is a concert, and you have menus, and you have menus, and you have meals, everything like that. They have the track. The bottom line was how much was that tray of food. That's where they made their profit. So we ended up getting a smaller version of SAP, not to buy into the big infrastructure, called SAP B1. And then we had people, and it was open ended on the input and output, and we just build API connectors into whatever other specialized software that we need, menu management, asset tracking, transportation, all that kind of stuff. So,
And to think that you lugged Leslie's up and down the stairs at the Agora Ballroom, I just blows
the
my mind
Aragon
how far
Ballroom,
you've come.
Aragon Ballroom. I did. The Agora didn't have stairs, so well, except for the Youngstown Agora. So,
But if you want to send me your specifications, I can certainly take a look around and see what we can come up with that'll
Well,
meet those
I'm not in charge of
requirements.
that. I've been told by my daughters that they'll take care of it.
Oh,
yeah.
well, I'm sure they'll do something similar to what I'm suggesting in the end. But
Yeah.
So I am curious to ask what Chef Ken is preparing for this evening.
I have not made anything tonight because I'm not feeling that great, so I'm not gonna make anything.
Oh,
Ahead
sorry
of
to
No
hear
beans tomorrow.
I've eaten
That's
too
fun.
much all week. I'm going to dinner. I got dinner with the girls at Fogo de Chao tomorrow night.
That's a lot of food, boy. That's a lot of food.
So saving
It's a
myself.
Ground
Brazilian
fire.
churrascaria.
I've never been there before.
Oh, it's a lot of food, but it's a
I had to
Brazilian
look it up.
churrascaria.
It means ground fire.
Meat coma.
good
Well,
stuff.
it's Brazilian steakhouse.
It's
Yep.
Well, no,
great.
it's called the churrascaria, where basically you will see an awful lot of meat.
Now,
An awful lot
Jan,
of meat.
you lived in Vegas. Did you ever go to Yoli's
Go
when
where?
it was there? Yoli's?
Oh, yeah, yes, absolutely. Yoli actually lived right down the street from me in Rio de Janeiro. When I
Wow.
was in Rio de Janeiro, when I lived in Rio, she was
And
like
what about
in
the
the
Heart
next apartment
Attack
building.
Grill?
No.
It's a little
You
bit
ever go to
different. I've walked by them. You know, in the Heart Attack Grill, all the waiters wear doctor's coats, lab
Yeah.
coats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Apparently that's downtown though. That's not on the
Yeah,
strip, right?
that's
Fremont Street.
down. It's right downtown, right?
It's right on
What's
Fremont Street. It's right
that's
on
it?
Fremont Street. It's right
There you
Fremont.
go.
right at the end of
Yeah.
Fremont Street, or the beginning of Fremont Street. to be
I just
Yep.
always
All
thought
their
that
burgers
Yoli's,
are in lard.
yeah, I just always thought that Yoli's was a really good Brazilian steakhouse as
Yeah.
opposed to the. I've been to Fogo de Chao a few times, and it's good. Don't get me wrong, but Yoli's not being a chain was like they had it together.
Yeah,
Well,
but
this
they
is
couldn't keep up with it because the cost got too great for them.
Oh,
Yeah,
did,
no, I know they went out of business, but
did anybody
it's
see
good when it
this
lasted.
article that I think it was in the New York Times or somewhere else about where they dissected and broke down a $500 steak dinner into $25 of margin?
No.
What did I
No, but if you
see?
hum
No.
a few bars of
This.
it,
Yeah.
No, it was an art. I'll find it here.
But I tell you what, I love Brazilian steakhouse. You'll have fun, Ken. Just
Good stuff.
remember, turn that thing to red. You get a little puck.
Oh, that's the
The
funniest
green
thing is that
No,
when
they'll
the
just
first
walk
time
right by you and not give you anything else.
the first time I went to a churrascaria, they had that thing where it was green and red, and I didn't know what it was, and so I turned it on to green, and they were coming like crazy. The waiters were coming, and a guy at the table says, "What the hell is going on?" And he looks at it, he says, "Why did you turn that to green?" And he turns it back to yellow, and he says, "Hey man, calm down."
I just
didn't
Yeah.
think
threw it. I
those
just
things
threw it
worked.
in the comments. It was
Yeah.
in the Wall Street Journal.
Oh, wow.
So it basically takes a look at how a $500 steak dinner gets whittled down to 25, which is just crazy.
Well, at the churrascaria, what they try to do is get you to the salad bar first.
Yep.
That's what they want you to do because
Oh,
that's
well,
where
yeah,
the
I mean,
profit margin is.
one of the best profit margined restaurants is Mexican. So what they do, even if your table is ready, it doesn't matter. They get you into the holding area And the first thing they do is bring you salty chips with spicy salsa. So
Yeah.
the immediate reaction is beer
Five
or
more drinks.
margarita. And then they cycle you. Oh, your dinner's come, your table's almost ready. And they try to get you for 2 drinks while you're waiting. And you're, eating chips and salsa, which is quite cheap. And then they get to the table, and then the margins on Mexican food are almost like pizza. It's essentially carbohydrates and cheese, and those are not terribly expensive. And in the final analysis, that pizzerias and Mexican are high margin on food, which usually isn't the case, right? Food is margin more or less correctly, and then they really get you on the alcohol.
Remember,
But I
Steve,
tell
The
you
biggest
though,
profit margin is the soda, because in most places, if you buy enough soda from the manufacturers like Coca-Cola, they'll give you a bunch of free bags of soda because for the fountain machines, that's where they make the biggest margin.
Absolutely.
but
Oh yeah, no, I mean beer, and just in some sort of interrupt, Gregory, but in some cases, beer in particularly in Mexico can be cheaper than a sugared soda.
Mhm. That's true too.
Hmm.
Going back to the Brazilian steakhouse just for one more second, it's a perfect if somebody's on a keto diet, you know, it's the perfect place to take.
Yeah.
There,
Another good one.
why are you
Another
always
good
going
one
to the
is
Brazilian steakhouse?
Texas do
I'm on a
Brazil.
diet.
Texas do Brazil. Texas do
Yeah,
Brazil is another
baby.
good one.
I'm
Really
on
good
a
one.
pure beef diet.
yeah,
I
Oh,
actually
so
did
here
that.
I've got one for you. So my boys are big. They're both physical trainers. They're in fantastic shape. So I bought a 9 pound roast for Christmas. Okay. So it's me. I'm 63. I ate, a bit. One of my son's girlfriend, she's still a good meat eater. My 96-year-old mother and my 2 boys. There was this left of the roast. So if you calculate it out, I probably had 14 ounces maximum. The
Yeah. Well, and
girlfriend
they
probably
each ate at least 2 pounds. Sure, that makes sense.
exactly. They ate two, probably actually closer to 2.5 pounds.
So
Now
here's
mind you that the weight was before cooking.
We're
So I
cooking.
think
No,
I think
sure.
Colin's probably got a point. They ate 2 pounds each of beef.
here's a fun fact on eating a lot of meat. I was reading a book several years ago about the Lewis and Clark expedition. And when those guys were out in the wild, if they had enough meat, these guys could eat 10 to 15 pounds of meat a day.
ooh,
They were burning so many calories hauling the dugout canoes and all the junk
Wow.
around that they were on that expedition. So we're
The
all
average,
complete, we're
but
complete rookie amateurs
yeah,
comparatively.
yeah.
that's crazy because my boys, they're trainers and so they, everything is monitored and calculated, but they generally eat a pound of protein per meal.
But they
Wow.
burn it off though.
Yeah, so they're
Yeah,
they're
I
doing
mean,
3 pounds of protein. Now less at breakfast, maybe 2.5 pounds of protein per day.
you're doing 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per pound of muscle mass. So, yeah,
Oh, is that the calc?
yeah,
Oh,
that's for
interesting.
so 1 gram per pound of muscle mass is usually for maintenance, and then if you're bulking, you do 1.5 grams per pound. Um, but I actually got in some of the best shape of my life. I don't know, a year or so before I met Jan. What was that? 90 2015, something like that.
I no, I think it was a little bit later than that. I think it was like
15, 2016. Anyway, so it was in
2020.
that vicinity. No, it was 2020 something. This was on Blab, wasn't it?
Oh, right. Yeah. You're 100% correct.
But yeah, so
I stand corrected.
I ended up I had a flood in my house, and so I forced remodel. So the insurance company put me up at this apartment complex that had a gym in it, and I had nothing to do for 7 months. So I spent 2 to 4 hours a day in the gym, and I came out
And got
and
ripped.
do you remember what the hell was her name? The ex New York shock jock. The fuck was her name? I don't remember. But her comment was, "Oh, well, you look like an ex-con." Well, thanks. That's that's exactly what I was going
What a
for.
compliment.
But anyway, yeah. So I did a lot of research at that time into this stuff, and yeah, that's the formulation. It's basically 1.5 grams of protein per pound of muscle mass that you currently have to bulk up to the next level.
One thing I will say between you and Christopher, I would say of all the people I know, you have the most eclectic information between the two of you than everyone else in the room
We
combined.
are fountains of useless knowledge.
Cheers, Colin.
Yeah.
Fountain of and Chris is also involved in computer programming and high tech stuff like that as well, Colin. So you
Yeah.
two guys could just like
Yeah,
rap for hours on
I
microns.
did I did object oriented program for a long time, and then I got out of that and just got into IP network services. So I had racks of hardware
Yeah.
with
Network engineering pays a hell of a lot better than programming, and it's more interesting. You,
exactly.
you
And
do a
it's
lot more interesting stuff every day than you do when you're sitting behind a desk
yeah, we
solving
just
one fucking problem, and then you find out after 8 hours you've changed like 3 lines of code and fixed the problem. But you spent 8 hours figuring the shit out.
that's right. But yeah, we were running a lot of VMware and just spinning up Linux instances, for yeah, it was
Yeah.
good. A lot of
Now
fun.
with vibe coding now, that would save you a lot of time, I guess,
Well, I
Yes
today.
and no. So vibe coding is interesting. It works for very basic things that you might want to do. And these are those basic things I was talking about earlier, where you've got these startups that are doing these implementing these tiny little services that might have taken a long time to implement 10 years ago, but now you can spin them up in 5 minutes. And the thing that I find interesting about vibe coding, and I would not say what I'm doing is vibe coding. I do, I allow uh, Gemini to pair code with me. So, for example, I will, come up with the architecture and define the architecture, and I've actually had Claude refine my architecture document, and then have Gemini implement it. Here's the architecture document. Implement the application. So the majority of the work becomes debugging it. You can have the LLMs do the debugging, but having extensive experience really helps because you can identify things that the LLM will just miss. What I find really interesting and useful about these LLMs is they can research and find the most optimal solutions for a thing that, as an individual programmer, you may not be aware of. Not, you know, a particular programming style or but libraries that you didn't know existed or would have to spend half a day reading about before you were able to use.
Well, what
That's
scares
the
me
most.
so about that is how people that maybe are not as knowledgeable about it as you or Chris or myself are falling prey to these AI versions and treating them as if they were people, and talking to them and referring to them in conversation as a live entity rather than as a computer assistant device. It's scaring me.
there
Well,
was a
they're
who was
emotionally.
it that recently tweeted about having an AI psychosis?
Well, there was something about that. I remember seeing, and of course, Law and Order always does this, like pulls
Dun
things from
dun
headlines
dun
and
dun dun.
comes up with a thing.
Dun.
But I
That's
remember seeing
Mike
that.
Post. Mike Post is making more money than all of us put together, by the way.
Oh, that was the guy. That was the guy who said that. Wasn't that the guy who said that? I think it was Chat GPT threatened his girlfriend or something and wanted to have a relationship with him. Was going to go kill his girlfriend or some sort of thing like that.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy. Well, that was a year or two ago, wasn't it?
No, there was a recent article. I can't remember. It's a famous personality basically said that it was really cool having an AI chat psychosis and recommended it.
Well, there are people who. I mean, I don't know that it's cool to have a psychosis of any kind, but if I was going to have an addiction, I would want a sex addiction, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're gonna, I don't want an
Well, I've
AI
already got
addiction.
that.
Forget that. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
I didn't need
That's
AI for that. That's for sure.
right. Yeah, but I mean, as far as cool addictions are concerned, but I don't know. They're useful. They really are legitimately useful, but the problem is there is a generation of kids out there that are so emotionally stunted that they will find use of these AIs for exactly that purpose, and it's bad news.
Well, I went to I had a family Christmas dinner, and it was absolutely stunning, and you know, really fun. And there was children there, and so they asked me to, sign a Merry Christmas card. So I signed it in, I signed it, and then I said I wrote Merry Christmas, and they were like, "Wow, cursive."
Yeah,
Curse.
cursive hasn't been taught in schools.
Oh, he, he
I
can
think
actually write characters with a
I
with a
was
pen or
cool, man.
pencil.
I was
what's
cool,
impressive
man.
is that they were able to read it.
You know, the scary part is that they don't know how to tell time on an analog clock.
That
That's the
too.
frightening thing.
Yeah. Between cursive
It is.
and standard transmissions, us old people
Yeah.
can still rule the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now they have this new they
That's
now
how
have
you prevent people.
psychiatrists. They have AI psychiatrists you can go
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. Some of
Well,
them
That's how you
actually,
prevent people from stealing your car, though, is buy one of those standard transmission.
Yeah.
It'll never get stolen.
don't know how to drive it. Oh, that's
Yeah.
either that or you won't have a clutch.
Yeah.
One of the
Stephen
two.
Wright does it. Stephen
Oh
Wright
my
did a
God.
joke. He says, "My girlfriend refuses to drive because she says she doesn't know how to drive an automatic." You know. But
Oh
anyway,
man.
speaking of all this stuff, I was reading that the data breaches now that are going on are insanely large. What do you know about this company called Synthient? Synthient credential stuffing threat. Basically, they just breached 1.96 billion data centers, like email addresses, password descriptions.
Is Synthiant the name of the attack
Synthient,
vector?
yeah.
I,
No, it's
Synthient,
not.
yeah.
I haven't heard this about this one yet.
It's
Yeah, it
so
just happened.
prolific now that it's hard to keep track.
And Spotify got hit. 85 million people, 85 million songs now are in the wild without DRM,
Well, the
just
thing
running
is,
around loose.
ChatGPT got hit, or OpenAI got hit a couple of times, and they've got some of the largest user base in the world at this point.
Oh, the banks have been
Yeah.
hit. God, if you load up the Onion browser and just have a surf around, I mean, you can find offers. It's very cheap to buy the data. I mean, it's
Oh,
really
sure.
just ridiculously cheap.
Now,
Yeah,
listen, between you two guys, I have got a serious question about Plaid, Plaid. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I actually
Yes,
looked
it's
at
paint.
Plaid.
It's two colors and they typically intersect like this,
You're
and
talking
it's
about the
quite,
payment processing
there
platform.
you
yeah,
go.
yeah.
There's
There
an
it is.
example right there.
So,
Yeah, you
so
can have it on your
And
I,
kilt.
I
just,
evaluated Plaid. You're talking about the payment processor, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So they started out for purposes of bank authentication, and so they'll allow you to do things like get credit histories from people and so on. If you're looking to offer credit or a credit line to a customer or something. What are you looking to do with it?
Well, I want to know, like I've been, because what's happening is a lot of software interfaces with your bank, but you have to go through Plaid to get to that,
Right.
So Plaid is the interface, and they say that your data is safe, but it
Yeah,
always freaks me out.
they're a legitimate operator. Whether or not your data is safe is always up for grabs. But no, they're a legitimate operator. So what they do is they partner with banks and hook into their authentication mechanism, and then provide a centralized OAuth authentication framework for their customers to allow them to access their end customers' banking information. So, for example, in my case, I'm operating essentially a marketplace where we accept payments from our customers, and then make micropayments out to our service providers, the providers of the MCP servers that we facilitate access to, and then um, those owners of the MCP servers can then make deposits at their times of their choosing from the amounts that they've accrued. So someone, you make 100,000 queries to Joe's MCP server, and then Joe can say, all right, well, there's 100,000 query hits to my server, so here's my $15 that I've made from that process, and I can now deposit this in my bank, and I need to first supply Colin my bank account information. We were looking at doing that through Plaid. Ultimately, we did it through Stripe, because we already had an existing relationship with Stripe, who also does credit card processing, which Plaid does not do. But no, Plaid is a legitimate operator. They've been around for a bunch of years now. They're pretty
And what
solid.
they say is this, they say that they don't take your login information. So they just hook you up, then a splash screen comes up where you log into your bank information.
Right. So
But
what
how is it that they don't grab that
it's
information as
OAuth
Because they just use
authentication.
checksums.
It's OAuth authentication. So essentially, they initiate an authentication process with your bank, and that splash screen that comes up is for your bank, and the information goes to your bank, and your bank provides, as you say, a checksum back to Plaid, then says, okay, we can use this checksum, this token, to make further queries to you against your bank account, because you've authenticated, and we have this one time, or this temporary token, and the token will expire in X number of hours, or whatever the terms of service are with your bank. So it is exactly as they say. They have limited duration access to limited sets of services that they indicate, that they enumerate on that page, and it's usually look up balances, look up transactions, or whatever, payment history, or whatever it is that they say they're looking at,
But
and
here's
then
my question
then
then.
it
If it's
expires.
that safe, why does the bank give you a disclaimer saying that if you connect with this Plaid, that if you lose any money, you're
Because
on
they
your own?
pay
There's
it
there's
if
there's
something
there,
happens.
there's know your customer, and there's cover your ass, and this is the
Yeah.
latter. Cover your
DYA.
ass. Yeah.
Yeah, but the best Plaid thing that can happen, and I think Wayne and Gregory might get into this, is that you go to your local hardware store after Christmas and you say that you want the new Black and Decker Plaid spray gun.
No,
This will
I
send
want
all of
Jasper
the
Plaid.
fucking people in the paint section into conniptions trying to figure out where the new Black and Decker Plaid spray painter is. And you
It'd be
just
Oh,
sell
more
that
fun
stuff.
that's
at Home Depot.
It's got
that's
a
easy.
rotating
It's right next to the snipes.
It's right up
exact.
right.
It's in the snipe section,
It's
which
right up
is
there with a
the
left-handed smoke
other
shifter, and yeah, I mean it's
yeah, the
yeah.
other piece of hardware that's always fantastic to ask for is a cordless lathe. That's one that just really gets them all. Oh yeah, no, oh yeah, no, cordless lathe, you can turn up to 3 meters of metal on it. And they're like, what?
I
You
just
know,
want to know, Ron, do you have those up in Canada? That's it.
Uh,
I have a
no,
cordless lathe right here. It has a filing disc on it and everything.
I
It's
got a
great.
pencil.
Yeah, there you go. I got a pen.
Yeah.
This
Well,
is real good.
the, the other one I love is when you ask for a magnetic drill.
Magnetic drill.
Yep.
Hmm.
It's basically a portable bench drill press, but
Oh,
you
portable.
put it on steel and you hit the electric on it and it magnetically puts it there, and then you can drill down the hole accurately.
Ah,
Speaking of cool shit, did anybody get anything cool for Christmas?
I
Oh
got
yeah.
a Porsche experience.
Ah.
oh,
What is that, like a postcard?
No, you get to actually run out there and figure out how understeer and oversteer work. And if anybody saw the video, which was just heartbreaking, the guy
And
that
you have
invented Call of Duty.
oh yeah, yeah.
how many
So
laps do you have to figure this out?
he's in a, approximately 900 horsepower Ferrari. And, the first thing you have to understand when you're driving a Porsche or mid-engine or any car is, how weight shifts when you're accelerating, weight shifts to the rear. When you hit the brake, it shifts to the front. If you're in a corner, it shifts to this side or it shifts to that side. And you really have to understand this stuff if you don't want to die. And of course, this guy is on Angeles Crest Highway screaming out of a tunnel. He's already losing control in the tunnel. He makes it out of the tunnel and discovers there's a left curb. His two right wheels hit the sand. He spins out, hits a rock, and car's cut in half, and they both die instantly.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Well,
This
it's
was the
like
guy that,
Paul
that created
Welker,
Call of
right?
Duty?
With the Porsche.
The story behind that one is a little more complex, but the best thesis that I've ever heard for that accident is that that Porsche GT was stored and the tires were brittle. It
Mhm.
had been in, it had really fancy rubber on it, and the car had been in storage. And so when he turned and did all this stuff and revved up the motor, the rubber was like as hard as a rock, and that's why he lost control and they crashed and burned.
Yeah,
So I
You
have an
know,
there's a
interesting story about that car. I used to do the Porsche booth at the LA Auto Show every year, and they had we had one of those Carrera GTs in the booth one year, and they put it up on blocks and built it a little pool around it in Petrie Hall. And at the end of 10 days of auto show, the car had a bunch of little dings in it from people throwing coins into the fountain and hitting the car. Now, at the time, there were two of them in the entire world. And it was several years before they ever finally sold one. Because I remember asking, how much is this car going to cost? And at that time, they said, well, about $250,000. And when it came out, of course, it cost over 400,000. But I have some great pictures of that car sitting in its little pond.
I saw
well, if you go to
one
Vegas, if you go to
in the
Vegas, they have
wild
a
in Geneva.
track. If you go to Vegas, they have a track where you can rent these super duper, like
Right.
serious cars,
Yeah, and some
that you could drive
joker,
around.
some joker hit the wall in a Lamborghini. It was probably maybe it's probably been 3 years now on that track.
yeah. You know what his last words were? Watch this.
Well, then there's the there's video if you're interested. There's another really stupid accident. A Hungarian guy is driving a Lamborghini Huracan on a straight road. He's got his buddy in the passenger seat who's shooting the speedometer. The guy's at 320 kilometers, and he loses control of the vehicle on a straight road. And I showed it to my buddy who races cars for a living, and he said, "Oh yeah, I've seen that video." If he had just kept on it and even accelerated harder, he would have made it out. But again, these people that drive these cars buy them. They don't know what they're doing.
Well, even people that know what they're doing, like that guy Paul Anderson from the Fast and
Yeah,
Furious.
that was a technical issue. He, you know, didn't think about the tires. If that was fresh rubber, there would be no story. He'd be alive and making films, and yeah.
I
What
tell
about
you,
James Dean?
the scaredest I've ever been in one of those cars was, this was, gosh, 1983, whatever. And Ian Pace was in Gary Moore's band. So he said, I'll drive you back to your hotel. This is in London. And he had, it at that time, it was like a $250,000 Ferrari. This is 1983. All
Probably the
manual.
512 BB, I'm gonna
Yeah.
guess.
I could hardly fit into it, and I was 150 pounds lighter than I am today. And we're going through, all over London, all the streets through London, everything at very high speeds. And I just said, thanks, Ian. That was a lot of fun. I'll never do it again.
Yeah. Have you anybody watched the F1 movie on Apple?
Oh yeah, I saw
Oh
it in
yeah.
the theater.
Oh, and Ford versus Ferrari. That was another great one. Yeah.
I've
Did
been
also-
watching
Which
the
one's better?
F1, and that Apple
seen
bought the
either
rights
one.
to F1.
Which was better of the two?
I like. First off, you got to see F1 in IMAX. You got to see it in the theater because it was filmed in IMAX.
Okay.
But seeing it at home, it's just not as good. In the theater, it was absolutely phenomenal. And I saw Ford versus Ferrari. It was Ford versus Ferrari was more about, what's the main character's name? I forget. The person who dies at the end. The guy basically was.
And Le Mans, he dies in Le Mans, right?
No, he dies after Le Mans, and he dies testing the next year's version of the Ford GT40.
Yeah, that's
out,
right.
At an airport.
Willow Springs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen several movies or documentaries about that era of racing, the Ford, Ferrari.
Oh yeah.
That
What
was
was the movie with Matt Damon and Christopher? What's the guy's name?
that was
That's
Shelby.
it. That's
That
Ford
was Ford
versus
versus Ferrari.
Ferrari.
That he was playing Shelby. Carl,
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But I
And-
forget. And I forget the character's name.
Other
That-
movies. Anybody seen the Senna movie?
Actually, I have it tagged. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, have you seen the Enzo Ferrari movie?
Yeah, that one I saw.
Yes.
Yeah,
That
Yes.
was good. Yeah.
All right, that was a good one.
that was
Yeah.
between him and Lamborghini, right?
Well, it was
No,
Lamborghini.
it was like Enzo's beginning years, wasn't it? That was when he first
He
came
was
on. The
beginning
scene.
there, and the wife, and his money struggles and all that stuff there, and he had a girlfriend and had a illegitimate son with her, and all that stuff.
Yeah. A true Italian.
What's that guy? What's that actor's name? The one that played the driver in the Ferrari with Matt Damon. I can't remember his name.
Christian Bale.
Yeah, man, that guy's out. He's like way out there. That guy is insane. What a great actor. He played that character amazingly well.
Yeah.
You wanna see a
But
good
I
movie?
tell you what,
Christian Bale in
F1
it.
still is good on if you have Apple TV. I decided to spend the money for 6 or 8 months because of that. I get through my provider, I get every streaming service but Apple TV. So
Well, you know what
for free.
most people do is you take a subscription out for the month, and then you watch what you binge watch,
binge,
and then
yeah.
you stop the subscription.
Which is
That's what
kind
a lot of people
of
do.
yeah, and that's the way I always did it. But now, here in Florida, Spectrum is big. Okay, and what they do is okay, you buy our cable TV package for X, and we'll give you everybody. I got HBO, Netflix, um,
They package
HBO
Netflix.
Max.
They
Yeah, well,
package
without getting too
Netflix.
Paramount.
personal, what are you paying? Like $200 a month?
No, 140 a month, and I get them all.
Only 140 a month to watch TV. I remember when you just had rabbit
No, and
ears and it was free.
that includes the gig. That includes. No, I'm sorry. I'm doing 5 gigs, so that
Yeah, but that
5 gigs of internet. So
that's the whole name of the game is avoiding churn and just getting recurring revenue. That's it. They
yeah.
will sell their firstborns to get
And this is great though because
that.
I was playing that game, Jan, where you would okay. I know Starfleet Academy is coming out on Paramount here, and I really want to watch that in January. So I'll have to go ahead, and I only have my budget for this, so I'm gonna cancel Disney. For 6 months, and then I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch the first season of this, and then cancel that and go back to Disney for when the new Andor comes out or whatever.
I
Anybody
gotta
watching
say,
Landman?
oh
Oh
my
yeah,
God.
yeah, that's great. And
Uh,
Tulsa King. I have a buddy who worked on Tulsa King, so
I was shocked to find out it wasn't shot in Tulsa.
no, it was
Oh, dude, I mean,
Jesse,
if you knew,
the very first parts of the first season, the first 3 or 4 episodes were shot in Tulsa, and then everything moved back to
Canada.
Atlanta.
Well, they
Yeah,
use
so
second units to get the out, the second
well,
unit
so they
to get
what
the
they typically
outsides.
do, given the tax situation, is a lot of shows now are shot in Canada, interior scenes,
Right.
right? So they'll shoot a whole season or whatever. They'll shoot all the interior scenes in Canada, and then they come back to the US, shoot the exteriors that they need, put it together, and off we go.
Depends on
Unless
who.
you're on the
what tax
Hallmark channel, then your studio's in Tulsa,
Yeah, you
Oklahoma.
have to shoot it inside of a flower shop, which
Yeah.
kind of is very limiting.
There's been three movies here in town that were filmed for Hallmark this year.
Yep. We've had 2 last year here.
But the point of right now is it's a thing of who's giving the most money. And right now, New Jersey's throwing a lot of money at people. What Netflix or one of them has put up a big studio complex there too.
Oh yeah, because California is, they're just it just they keep the offices here for the moment. We'll see what happens if they pass this billionaires tax. But yeah,
People are
everybody's
leaving
shooting.
California, I heard.
Sorry?
I read an article that people are leaving California right now. The
Yeah,
billionaires are
around
leaving.
3,500 folks per day. Yeah,
Good. Then
yeah.
the land values will go down and I'll buy some.
The other, listen,
Well,
Christopher, you live in the Pacific
that yeah,
Palisades.
no, Greg's got a point. I mean, it's going to be a little more convoluted than that. It's going to
Yeah.
take
What's
time
the
for
point?
it to
I
all
missed the
wash
point.
out.
What's the
But
point?
apparently, the governor has proposed, or the state government has proposed a one-time, or I'm not sure exactly, what they're thinking, but essentially it is if you have a net worth over $1 billion, you will pay 5% of your net worth, whether you're leveraged,
Yeah.
unleveraged, liquid, whatever it is, in a tax. And I saw
That's
Steele said he
insane.
was leaving. All these
well, I
people.
saw an article where Palmer Luckey, who's the guy that does Androl, was just basically saying, how did they do that? We're out. I mean, and they've already lost, a lot of SpaceX. They still have some stuff down in the South Bay. They lost Tesla, In-N-Out Burger, you know, the list is pretty long.
I
And
heard George Clooney moved to Paris or moved to
exact,
France.
exactement, oui, c'est vrai, le pauvre, le
Yeah,
pauvre.
but he still has. They still have people like that. Still have properties all over the world, though.
He probably doesn't even
Exactly.
know all the properties he owns, I'll bet.
Yeah.
They have a book. It's about this thick.
Yeah, the way he has
Netflix
his
built a
properties, I have my pens and pencils. I don't know all the pen and pencils I own, you know?
Netflix built a huge center in Toronto now as well.
Sorry, who was
Well,
that, Ken?
Netflix.
Netflix.
Complex or what?
Yeah, Netflix built a great big place in Toronto for a lot of the stuff that they're shooting now. They're trying to build the market here because of the dollar. Our dollar's,
Oh, it's a studio complex.
yeah, our dollar's still 40% down. So, um, just that, and then the Canadian government offers massive tax incentives for everybody from the US to come up and shoot here. So that's why we're like, there's no studio space left in all of Toronto. They can't buy it anymore. There's just physically not enough land to build more studio space. It's all taken up. There's just nowhere to go. So now there's all sorts of new incentives for places to be built everywhere else. So Sudbury, Ontario has got a new film studio going up. Everywhere's got a new studio going up because our dollar's in such bad shape that the Americans want to shoot here. It's just they save themselves 40% by shooting here. It's just and our labor is the same exact labor that is in the U.S. So the exact same wage that you make working in the U.S. is what they pay in Canada, but it's in Canadian dollars. So even that. So all the IA guys are making the same money per hour, but it's in Canadian funds, not American funds. So when it comes to doing films, they also save on that. They knock the labor costs down by 40% every time they shoot here.
Be
That's
interesting
it.
to see what Netflix does if they manage to pick up Warner Brothers. If they're just gonna move everything up to their Canadian facilities and shutter everything in the U.S. Interesting to see.
I doubt that would happen, but you never know. I mean, it's
Well,
all
no,
it's
not,
all
they're not
international.
gonna
Yeah.
shutter everything, but I mean,
Netflix is building studios in Las Vegas. They still have they still have all those hard assets down in Southern California. Is uh,
not abandoning anything. That
yeah.
I noticed some files in the chat. People are sharing stuff in the chat. When you say gray stuff, what does that mean, or can we not talk about that?
Well, I don't know. It's not. Is this recorded or not?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we're streaming live.
Oh well.
Wait till we get offline, and you can explain it to me.
No. So the concept is that it is illegal to provide access to copyrighted material, but it is not illegal to consume copyrighted material that other people have offered to you for free. And that's the mechanism by which this app operates. They say we are merely an index of
Yeah.
file systems where you can access these files, and you can. And
It's
since
like
you're not,
file sharing. I think
it's no, but
Yeah.
it's
wasn't
not.
that like
No, it's not. And that's the point, right? So file sharing was you are downloading a file and then sharing it to other people, which is what made it illegal. What this is doing,
oh, that made it
you're,
illegal.
you are simply streaming off of a server that is some random server that has the content you're looking to view. And
Well,
so they index all their stuff off of IMDb and TVDB and the various other ones. Anyway, it's iffy, but it's very handy if you really have one thing that you want to see off of some particular service and you don't want to go and subscribe to that one thing. That
Got
one
it.
one
Now,
service.
one more thing I want to ask you. Did you hear about Alex Lindsay? Now, Colin and I, we spent a lot of time with
Jeez.
Alex Lindsay during
What did he
COVID.
do this time?
He went to work for Apple.
Oh, of course he did.
He gave up everything and now is working for Apple. He gave up office hours, he gave up Mac Break
Really?
Weekly,
As of
and
when?
now he is
I saw a notification for office hours. I don't know, today.
January 5th is his first day at Apple, and after that, he's not allowed to do anything outside of the campus
Huh.
publicly.
Well, he's always been a climber.
Yeah, he's going to
not
be
the most
involved. I
confident
think
guy
he's
in
like
the
the
world.
director of 3D services for Apple.
Oh, Jesus Christ. How the fuck did he manage to stumble his way into that job?
Serenity Caldwell.
Yeah, well, there you go. Whatever.
Yeah. I
His
wish him the
whole
best of
that
luck,
his
Alex,
whole
if you're
shtick his
watching.
whole shtick was about networking. That was his whole
Well,
deal.
yeah.
He
And
didn't
now the
want
whole thing is his office hours now running on itself, which of course is if you now they're doing a daytime show, nighttime shows. They've got all these different hosts, and he really did a great job building that up, but it's not an revenue generating entity,
well,
and
it
yet
should
it
be.
keeps
I mean,
going.
it's easy to make it a revenue generating entity. I told him how to make it a revenue generating entity, and he
But
didn't.
once it does, then everybody's going to want a piece of it.
Well, yeah, of course.
And then it'll fall apart because then it'll be everybody will say, well, look, I was a host on the panel. I want to get paid.
Well,
I
no,
gave
no.
some
So
good
that so
advice. I want to get paid.
my model avoided that problem. But anyway,
Yeah, well,
yeah,
you know how we felt about you and me. We felt like,
that would have been an issue. He loved both of us dearly.
yes, he felt like we were, like flies on the fly paper.
Yeah,
That's it. We
yeah,
were making a lot of noise, and
yeah.
that's about it.
He got
Onward,
pissed
move
off
on, move
because
on.
he got pissed off because I put up what was it, an Amazon affiliate link or something.
I
Anyway,
don't know who got kicked off the panel more often, you or me.
I think you got kicked off more often. I got kicked off only once, and I just made it permanent. I said, "Fuck you guys." That was
Yeah, I was like Dino in in the Flintstones, trying to get outside.
All
They
right.
put
Anyway,
me
you
outside.
wanted to move on. Let us move on.
Yeah, let us move on.
Eh.
So anyway, who else wants to share what they got for Christmas?
Oh, I got a bottle of Macallan Rare Cask 2023, and while it's very good, and it's a blended offering, and I would rather they do the single cask stuff and with an actual age. And this is the thing. There's a term for this, and I don't remember exactly what the acronym was. It was a non-age disclosure or something. So they don't give you the age of the scotch. It's a blend, and it's just that way they can charge whatever they want for it, and either it's good or it's bad, and it justifies the cost or doesn't. And you don't have the reference points of, oh, this 12-year-old is cheaper than this 15 or 18-year-old scotch. It's
Is
very
it a
good
single
though.
malt?
No, that's the thing. It's a blend.
Oh, a blend. Okay.
They've gotten into blends. So the single malt stuff is still has the age declarations on it, but I haven't seen anything over a 25 in
Mhm.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So this is their new thing, and it's
Oh,
very good. It's overpriced, but it's good.
hmm And Jim Beam is not producing any more bourbon for 1 year because they've got so much bourbon
Well,
in their inventory.
facility, they're
yeah.
still
And that's
Well,
making
they've got a
typically their pedestrian bourbon. They're concentrating. They're still keeping up their very high end product lines. They said,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. But they have, because they have to age it and all of that stuff,
You
so
got to
they have
maintain
so much of it.
inventory for 10 or 25 years from now, so you can't stop producing the
Yeah.
high end stuff.
Yep,
But the
yep.
pedestrian stuff you can plan out quite more easily, and so yeah, it makes sense that they would say, okay, we've
Yeah.
got enough inventory for X number of years, and
Yeah.
you're not
And
going to see a
alcohol
massive.
consumption in the United States is down considerably.
Well, this is the thing. Apparently, Gen X is the last generation of meaningful alcohol drinkers. My generation, last generation of alcohol drinkers. You know, Gen Y, Gen Z, they're down. I think they're down like 80%. It's insane. I mean,
Well, the
it's
last
like,
party I had that I had hard alcohol at, nobody touched it. Nobody touched it. So, so alcohol consumption is way, way down. You know, anyway,
We
so
put a
for
bit of a
Christmas,
we put a bit of a
Christmas,
down out here as well when we stopped. Canada just stopped buying.
Yeah.
When that whole thing came down and the tariffs started, the Canadians just stopped buying, and so we literally didn't buy anything. And
what American liquor is typically bought in Canada?
well, they put it in all their stores. They took it, and from my understanding, and Ron, you can clear this up, that Canada's liquor stores are owned by the government. Is that right?
Yeah, primarily. Now they've opened that up in certain parts of Canada now, so they can sell it in sort of like in the U.S. They can sell it in grocery stores and sell it in wherever. That's more of an Ontario thing because that's what the Premier of Ontario was pushing for years. But previous to that, and generally as a rule, the Canadian government orders all that stuff and they distribute it to all of the local liquor stores and beer stores that are run by the Canadian government because Canadian government it's a fairly big tax on liquor here. So they were obviously wanted to be able to control that, and they for years they have. But they took all the Jim Beam stuff and they took all the liquor stuff that and they said
Jack Daniels, all that kind of stuff.
all of it, and we just literally stopped buying it.
What
And
percentage of the offerings in your typical Canadian liquor store were American product?
I would say probably 30-40%.
Oh, okay.
So
Then the
they
shelves
I would
must
have
be
guessed a
pretty
little
empty.
less than that, but okay.
they literally switched everything over to other countries, European
Sure.
countries. They switched everything over. The Canadian stuff started taking off. There was a really when that whole thing went down, Canada was all about elbows up. It was all about we're fighting this as hard as we can, and it literally happened. So now they have these warehouses full of all this American liquor, and they're like, we're just going to sell it for whatever we can get, and we're going to give all the money to charity. All the money's going to charity. We're going to sell whatever we can get this for, and we're giving it all to charity. And that's how we're going to get rid of all this American liquor. And I don't see that coming back, even if this whole thing, even if the government does change or things happen, I don't see the liquor coming back because, people here took that pretty hard. They were,
These are habitual behaviors. You drink this liquor or that liquor, you change for 6 months, a year, you're not going to go back.
yeah,
Well, I'm
They
no,
say
surprised
that a
the
habit after 21 days, a habit will disappear and
I'm
then change to a
surprised
new habit.
I'm surprised the political direction in Ontario wouldn't be for crack cocaine.
No.
Well, one
that
thing I
was
do
Well,
know,
that was his brother.
That's a Ford comment.
Yeah, well, it's still Ford, but it's his brother, right? But we do have, because you guys made a comment earlier that, it's almost like you can buy beer here cheaper than you could buy. Like if you go to a convenience store, which now sells beer and they sell, certain alcohol and everything, not everything, but they sell the majority of it. You can buy a beer cheaper than you can buy a bottle of water.
wow, that is cheap. Actually, water is the most expensive thing you could buy. And
yeah.
in reality, it's more expensive than gasoline. It's more expensive than anything else when you think about it. And that's why all the majors went into
No, you know what's the
bottling their
most
water.
expensive thing is, Jan? It's printer ink.
Yeah.
Oh God, printer ink is
If
expensive, man.
if you figured out, I did an event one time. We had a guy from Kodak when Kodak was getting into printers, and he says, Hewlett Packard, if you adjust it, a gallon of Hewlett Packard ink is, like $30,000 by the time you get done with it. He says, at Kodak, we're not greedy. We only want half of that much.
Yeah.
What about a disposable razor on the Gillette razors? They'll give you the handle for free, and you got to buy the razors. And none of them interface with the other.
The real question, though, is can you manufacture printer ink using beer instead of water as a base?
I'm sure they've tried.
You get the ethanol and you get the water all in one, so you should be able to save some
There's
money.
a new industry for the Trappist monks in
There
Belgium.
you go. Yeah.
There you go.
Trappist printer ink.
Hey, Wade, you'll get a kick out of this. Since I've left California, which has been 20 years now, I had I loved C's candy when I was out there. You know, they're out of Arizona and they're all over up and down California. I couldn't
Warren
get
Buffett
it.
owns that.
Who does?
He
Warren
bought it.
Buffett.
He bought it about 15 years ago.
Yeah, but you can't get it. You can't get it in Florida, but you can get it in Minnesota. So my
interesting.
beloved younger sister sent me a 2-pound box of milk chocolates. So
Nice.
I love going into the C store because one of
Oh.
the things they do is they give you samples.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you're greedy, you could just, eat yourself to oblivion.
Yeah, it's like going into Costco. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
By the
for
way, Ron,
chocolate.
did they have Costco up in Canada? Do they have Costco or
Yeah,
Sam's
no,
Club
no,
or
they
any
have
of those things?
Costco is huge here. It's a big thing for sure, and it's the same thing. I'm in Florida now. Like I'm not in Canada right now. It's minus 13 centigrade in Canada today.
Yeah.
I'm north of Fort Myers. I've been here since Christmas, but Costco is huge there. But Costco's the same thing. You go in to buy 2 or 3 things, and you can't spend less than $500.
Yeah.
Your cart always comes out and it's like $500 and you got like 4 boxes in it. So
Here's
it's crazy.
Yeah, here's the
Oh,
trick
people
I
will look at
use
you weird
is
if you
I
just
don't
have
get
one
a
item.
cart. When I go into Costco, I don't get a cart. So I figure the maximum I can carry is about $150.
Yeah.
You know?
People look at you really weird. We had to buy one item and I went in there and people, what the hell? Who is this guy? He must not be from around here.
You're talking about perishables. I think one of the ones that, because I was just in Vegas for the LDI show, and I think one of the ones that's very interesting too is the hazer fluid, fog fluid, hazer fluid.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like the ink thing, right? So it's just like, every show has got it. Like every single show that I've ever done has got haze fluid on it. And the price of that stuff is just shot through the roof. And and now there's a huge,
Glycerin and what? I mean, it's just 2 chemicals, right? It's glycerin and something else, right?
yeah, and water.
Okay. Or maybe some coloring or something. Not even. I guess. It's a
No,
lot of
no coloring.
No.
So
I just remember the worst haze fluid I ever encountered was banana peach flavored.
No.
I mean,
Anyway, Ron, continue your story.
Okay,
Get
sorry,
out.
go ahead.
you can still get that. There's that company called Froggy, and they when I saw them at the trade show there in Vegas, they have an entire massive tray full of flavors that you could get. So you can get pina colada, you can get, vanilla, you get all the different flavors, and they're just little tiny things, and you just dump them into your machine, and it gives you that sort of scented thing. But yeah, I mean, it's very, very simple stuff, but the manufacturers are going through so much of it because a lot of these theme parks use tons of it. Like
Yeah.
you look at the Cirque shows in Vegas. I mean, man, oh man, like they go through massive gallons and gallons of it. So yeah, it's real easy to make, but there's not that many people making it really. So yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
kind
well,
of
they could control the market. They control the market.
it's in
Well,
Canada. We
is
pay
that,
six.
is that just a market and a market dominance thing? I mean, like you said, it's easy to produce, but how do you get into the market to the point where you can actually?
It's not, yeah, but it's not big enough of a market for the big players to get into it. Can you imagine if Exxon made
Yeah. Okay.
fog fluid?
Sure,
they'd be
yeah.
like going, "What? This isn't even close to a rounding error."
No, I was thinking
You
if you
know?
or I went and started up a venture selling this stuff, what would it take to market enough to get in and actually become a player in that
Well, I
space?
think at the end of the day, everybody's looking at the price and everybody's going out like where I'm from in Canada. I mean, a 5-gallon pail of hazer fluid is $600.
What?
So
Wow,
That's
that really went up a lot.
Yeah,
That's a ton. It used to be
600
like
bucks.
30 bucks or something like that.
I
30,
would I
40
would think that
bucks.
you could just go into a pharmacy and get the glycerin and just do it.
Yeah,
Well,
well, they have, obviously, if, like, I mean, they make it where I'm from, which is London, Ontario. They have a factory there that actually makes it because I'm from where um, Ultratech is from there, and those are the guys that make the water-based machines. They used to be called uh, they were in partners with a company called Lemaitre, which was a British company. And then they had a falling out, and then these guys started making their own machines. Anyway, so they make all the fluid there. And then they have, two great big, it looks like, not like massive silos. I mean, these things are like whatever, 15 feet tall, and there's two of them. And then they portion down, the chemicals go in here, and the water goes in here, and it goes down into here. And then some guy fills these things up all day long. And sends out, boxes and boxes of 1 gallon bottles with labels on them. And that's it. I mean, there's no rocket science with anything. You just have to have the space and you have to buy the equipment to do it. And like I said, there's no, now, there's different, this is longer lasting and and it's
Yeah.
just a different mix of the fluids, right? But, this one dissipates quicker. And this one is, for television use, you want it to be able to dissipate quicker or something. This one is more low lying, and this one, it's all just it's all just smoke and mirrors, and
That's exactly right.
and that's what it is. But it's like the printer ink thing, only obviously not not as
Yeah.
lucrative, but it's a huge market. And when I got to Vegas, I was surprised because literally every single booth had hazers running, like every booth. So there was hazers in every single thing running all day long, and I was thinking, man, I bet you at the end of the day, if you figured out how much fluid they would go through here in a day, it would be like thousands of gallons of fluid they were just
I would think that
pissing
you
away.
could locate manufacturing facilities in areas where the demand would be that high. Vegas,
Yeah,
obviously,
Vegas, they
but
use it
also,
everywhere because wherever you have light shows,
Orlando would be a
you
good
gotta have
place.
fog.
There are probably places where you could co-locate it to avoid shipping cost, and like you said, you're just talking about water and glycerin. I mean, we did this.
Vancouver for the film industry,
Yep.
Georgia for the
Yeah.
film
I mean,
industry.
you've got maybe 4 or 5
New
locations
York.
in North America, and half dozen locations in Europe probably.
okay.
You could
Isn't
just
it,
co-locate it, avoid shipping, reduce costs significantly.
wouldn't that be like the golf industry? Because like you don't make money selling golf clubs. Where you make the money is selling golf balls.
Yeah.
I made
I
money selling
believe
golf balls back in the day. I had uh, when I was in school in upstate New York, I was given a little black book that did not contain the names of women. It contained the names of sporting goods store owners in Montreal. And apparently, at that time in the late '90s, there was some sort of tariff on sports equipment, including golf balls. So these guys would buy cases of golf balls out of our trunk of our car. So we would export golf balls to Montreal and come back with beer, and we would hang out and grab a hotel for the weekend up there and have a fun weekend and make a profit and come back with beer and sell it all for a profit.
And it
I
was
used
all
to do.
legal too,
Oh yeah, all
But I was
legal,
when I
all
was trading
absolutely
in,
legal. It was great.
much more risk. Of course, the profit was greater, but
where I was going on the hazer is you need to sell the hazer because you can tie the brand of fluid to the hazer. So, oh, this is
Oh yeah.
we're using our hazer.
The warranty will not be valid if you use a different brand of fluid. Yeah, right.
Yeah, they all try that.
Sure, yeah.
They all try it. But now that Froggy guy, and they've been, growing massively over the last couple of years. They guarantee their fluid will work in anybody's machine. So
Sure.
they've like we've tested them all. We guarantee our fluid will work in anybody's machine. If they tell you that it's not going to happen, then they're just lying. So they're like, our fluid will work in all the machines, anywhere, any place, anytime. So, and I know Christie Lights, one of the bigger companies, just completely switched over to that product. They just completely switched over to the Froggy guys, just because it's a volume thing and it's the price, and that's when you're a large company, you can do that. So
Well, it's a universal thing. Every company needs it. It's like gaffer tape. You got to have the gaff tape, if you're doing a show. And if you're going to use lights and you want people to see the lights, you got to have fog. So
Yeah.
that's all there is to it. It's the same
Colin, but you reminded
I'm
me
gonna have to
that
get some fog for my thing here back here. I have to
yeah,
get some fog so they stand out a little bit more, rather than
you
being on the
reminded me. I
Starship
used to
Enterprise.
broker DRAM when I lived in San Jose. I
Ah,
had a company called DOS Tech, and we put together clones. We advertised in Computer Shopper, and I would drive around all around the valley and say, "I'll meet you at the Jack in the Box. I got 100 pieces of 256K, 100, 100."
well, there's a whole new market for that now because RAM prices are going through the roof these
Yeah,
days. It's
yeah.
Yeah,
It was that
I
was
know.
great
I own
times.
TSM. It's
well,
been great.
it's going to be
Anyway,
interesting
listen,
because
guys,
Yep.
we're gonna keep talking. We're gonna keep talking, but I want to say goodbye to those people that are watching, and I want to wish everybody a very happy and a healthy New Year. Remember to click the like button, give us a thumbs up. You've watched it this long, you really must be, there's something wrong with you, but it's okay. We love you because you're part of us. If there's something wrong with you mentally, then you belong here.
Either that or they clicked it on and they were asleep and
Yeah,
they don't
yeah,
hear the
they're sleeping.
fireworks.
Yeah, they're
that
sleeping. They
very
don't give a
pleasant
shit. Whatever.
sentiment. Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Happy
That's
and a
right.
healthy New
Yeah.
Year to everybody, and we
It's
are
like
off
it's like
the air.
it's like
Okay,
watching
good,
a
Wayne.
car wreck. You can't turn away.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. No, it's amazing the amount of viewers and our subscriptions are going up. So thank you very much, everybody. And we'll see you next year. And I'll be at NAM. So if anybody wants to get together, let me know. Send me an email or DM me, and we can get together at NAM. Ken, I need to